Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Shop Talk 28, I believe this is. This is the final Shop Talk of 2022, and thank you for tuning in. Thank you to Jim Deeming, an excellent fingerstyle guitarist here in Colorado that does the theme music here for us, and he is a fantastic player. Check out his website, jimsguitars.com. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Please put there in the chat box where you're from, because I really enjoy always listening and seeing where everybody's from. It's really fantastic. I was just reading here just a minute ago. Somebody is up in Canada and it's like 32 degrees below. That's Ken. Somebody's got a phone ringing. That must be Jeff Jewitt there. I've got him in the green room ready to go. So
Hey,
let me just put him on mute here real quick. And Jeff, we're going to put you on mute real quick. All right. So 32 degrees below up there in
no, I'm good.
Canada. Did somebody else say something there? That, Jeff, I thought I had you on mute. There we go. All right, so I've muted Jeff. He'll be on here in just a few minutes to talk to us. Once again, welcome everybody. Jose, hey Jose, how you doing? St. Augustine, Florida. Thank you for tuning in. Got a couple of people here from Parker. I can see Rich is here. Louisiana, Truckee, California. That's Graham out there in Truckee, California. Actually, Graham came and built a guitar here with me recently, so I hope that guitar is doing well out there. Steve Foss here in Colorado. If you want to be eligible for a drawing that we're going to have here in a few minutes, go ahead and click on the link that's in the chat box there, and you'll be eligible. If you give us your name and your email address, you'll be eligible for some of the online courses we're going to be giving away. Giveaways, we talked about that. Special announcement. I do have a special announcement today, and I'm going to bring on Cesar and Manuela all the way down there in São Paulo, Brazil. How you doing, Cesar? How you doing, Manuela? Good? You're muted. I think you're muted, Cesar. I can't hear you. Cesar and Manuela, come in, Cesar and Manuela. I think you're...
Uh,
There we go. We're having a bandwidth issue,
Hello,
so
hello.
how you doing this morning?
Yeah.
Good?
Well, we are doing it. Thank you. We are now
Good.
in a different place just to
Yeah, I,
be
I
more.
love the I love the backdrop there. You've got the fireplace there. You're all in the Christmas spirit down there in São Paulo. Even though it is hot down there, I don't know why you have the fireplace going. We have a bit of a
Yeah, exactly.
we have a bit of a delay going on here, folks. We were doing some testing before we went live, and our bandwidth is suffering today. And I guess that's because everybody's online buying Christmas gifts uh, before Christmas shows up. But I talked about a special announcement here, and that special announcement is that Cesar and Manuela are getting married. Yay! Let's hear it for Cesar and Manuela. When's the wedding, Cesar?
Um,
When's the wedding?
The wedding is at the end of January next
End
year.
of January. Well,
So 28th of
congratulations.
January 20, next year. Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much, Robbie. Thank
Cesar and
you.
Manuela are an integral part of Lutherie Academy here. Cesar does the website. Manuela helps us with the drawings here. So I appreciate you folks tuning in. And we'll be back to you here in a little bit, and we'll give away some courses. Is that okay?
Perfect. That's fine. Thank you.
All right. We'll see you back here in a few minutes. All right. Let's get rid of Cesar and Manuela, and we'll go back and see them here in a few minutes. My guest today is going to be Jeff Jewitt. We'll bring him on here in a few minutes. He is the finishing expert. Before I actually get into that, I want to talk about a few things that went on at O'Brien Guitars this year. 21 students came and built guitars here at O'Brien Guitars in individual classes. There was one class that had 2 students. The rest of the classes were individual private classes. Folks, that's a lot of guitars. By the end of the year, I was tired. That's a lot of guitars. I had people from Peru, from Canada, from Europe, Australia, and all parts of the United States, including Alaska. That was Louie way up there in Alaska that came down and built a guitar with me here in the beginning of the year. Master classes with Trevor Gore. We did the modal tuning master class, and that was done by Trevor Gore. Trevor Gore came in and we had 30 students show up for 2 different classes. We did one class for 3 days and then had a break, and then we did another class for 3 days. So thank you to the 30 students that came and learned with Trevor Gore about his modal tuning techniques. I don't know if we're going to be doing that in 2023. If you're interested, go ahead and send me an email and ask me to get on the list. Oh, I see some people here are saying congratulations to Cesar and Manuela there. Thank you, Jose. Appreciate that. Good. Drew Boyd. Hey, Drew. Good to see you on here. Drew Boyd is the marketing brains behind the Lutherie Academy. Long life and happiness. Very good. Thank you. Virtual classes. In 2022, again, I did a set of virtual classes on French polish. I also did some on steel string voicing. I will be doing those again. I've just posted my 2023 teaching schedule to the Lutherie Academy website. Just go out there and click on the teaching tab and you'll see my schedule. By the way, it's full, but there are some spaces in the virtual classes. And Jeff will be on here in just a few minutes, will be giving the catalyzed urethane spray finishing class at the Mark Adams School of Woodworking again next year. It was a great success this year. I'll be showing some pictures here in just a few minutes. The new website, and I'm even going to pull that up because that was a big deal this year. The Lutherie Academy website. If you take a trip over there, you'll be able to see the brand new website. Please take a look at our sponsors. Take a look at the advisory committee. I'm not doing this alone. I've got a lot of people behind me helping, and so I certainly appreciate their support. But you'll be able to see the online courses, and you'll be able to also see teaching page. By the way, all online courses on the Lutherie Academy are 10% off until the 31st of this month. So that's just an extra bonus here. You found that out here by tuning in. And just use the promo code as it says there on the website, Xmas22, and that will get you 10% off. Perfect. All right, what else we got going on here? Oh, new courses. I launched a couple of new courses this year. One was falcate bracing, and I'll just pull that up here again. Falcate bracing with Trevor Gore. And there's the iPad. And if you want to learn how to do the bracing pattern that you see there in the image, falcate bracing, it was invented by Australian luthier Trevor Gore. If you're interested in learning that method, then there's a course for it. Also, I launched a new course, my 6-day acoustic guitar building course, where I actually show how I build a guitar with the student in 6 days. So if you're interested in seeing that process, picking up a new trick or two, then go ahead and tune into that. Tips du jour videos. I launched another 15 Luthier Tips du jour videos this year. I launch about 15 or 16 every year. This year we passed 10.5 million views on YouTube and over 40,000 subscribers. So thank you everyone that tuned in to the O'Brien Guitars YouTube channel to learn all about the Luthier Tips du jour videos. By the way, I am going to launch a course. I'm calling it Season 2 of Luthier Tips du jour videos that are unreleased videos. You can actually view them and purchase them before they're released to the general public. So I'll be doing that, I think, in January or February of next year. My 2023 teaching schedule has been posted to the Lutherie Academy website. Like I said, it's completely full except for the virtual classes and the Mark Adams School of Woodworking class. So take a trip over to the Lutherie Academy website, click on the teaching page, and you'll see all the classes that are going to be offered in 2023. If you want to get on my schedule for 2024, go ahead and send me an email because it's already about half full. Shop Talk live streams. My God, I did a lot this year. Holy cow. The Shop Talk live streams, I did 12 of those this year, and I appreciate everybody tuning in and participating here. I gave away a lot of courses this year, but thank you for tuning in to the Shop Talk live streams. Today, I'll give you a quick bird's eye view of my shop. I've got all 4 cameras up. We're firing on all pistons. There's camera number 2, which is over to my left. Hey, how's it going? And you can see what I'm doing here. Camera number 3 is up in the right-hand corner, and it shows all of the mess going on. My shop starts out nice and clean at the beginning of the year and slowly gets cluttered throughout the year. The students that get here at the end of the year, well, they get the mess that you see on the bench there, and there's a little bit more dust and there's a little maintenance that needs to be done. Camera number 4 is in the other corner, way down there in the other corner. Here I am way over here. Hey, how's it going? So you can see that the shop is quite messy, so we'll get away from that. But if you have any questions throughout the broadcast here about my stream or about the shop, go ahead and feel free to pipe in. Let's see if we got any questions here. I want the 6-day classical course release announcement for this Xmas. What he's talking about is I have already filmed the 6-day classical guitar building course. I have not edited it yet. That's a several month process. Hopefully I'll be able to get that out as soon as possible in 2023. It's going to follow this kind of the same format as my steel string 6-day acoustic guitar building course. So be on the lookout for that. Alfonso, felicidades, César Manuela desde España. There you go. Appreciate you tuning in, Alfonso. I swear I've been good this year. That's great. Oh, that's really good. Okay, I'm going to bring on Jeff Jewitt, and let's see if I can get him off of mute. Here we go. Let's see, guest has muted themselves. Okay, so Jeff Jewitt is now coming in live. There he is, all pixelated and everything. Jeff's got a bandwidth issue at his shop. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm good. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. You're a little pixelated, but I understand that's you're in a part of town where you don't have a very strong bandwidth, so that's okay. We'll just do what we have here.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, Jeff, I'm going to start by just showing some pictures real quick. And if I'll start talking about it, and if you want to pipe in, you can. This is Jeff and I at the Mark Adams School of Woodworking this past year in September. We gave a class on catalyzed urethane, high gloss spray finishing. Oh, there we go. And here we are in the spray booth. We did all kinds of instruments, mostly guitars, but there were a mandolin and a couple of arch tops in there and stuff. In just a second here, I've got a picture of Jeff coming up. So we would actually do like a lecture demo, and then the students would jump in and do hands-on. They sprayed their own guitars, by the way. There's Jeff teaching some surface prep techniques, and we tag teamed the class, Jeff and I together. So it was a fantastic class. How many students do we have in that class, Jeff? Do you remember?
I believe it was 16. And
so, yeah.
Only one person didn't bring a guitar, so we finished 15 guitars in 5 days.
In 5 days.
And it was just, that guitar you're seeing right there is Paduke. That thing, I did not think we would get a high gloss field pour finish on it, and we did it. I mean, that's incredible. An estimate to the type of finish that we use. Yeah. And one thing that you should know is that although we used catalyzed urethane, we used it because you can buff it very quickly. You don't really have to let it cure. But the technique that everybody finishing, surface prep and all that can be applied to any type of finish that you want to do at home, whether it be nitrocellulose lacquer, varnish, whatever.
Right. Let's see if we can pull up a few more pictures here. There's the group of people we had in the class. There's Jeff demonstrating here, getting ready to go into his flawless spray technique. By the way, Jeff literally wrote the book on spray finishing, so he knows his stuff. And there is all the guitars. We would spray the guitars and take them out into this patio area. Had a little shed there, and we would hang all the guitars up there. And we had a lot of guitars, as you can see. But everybody's guitars turned out wonderful. Beautiful instruments. Also, you're seeing a burst there. Jeff has a wonderful burst technique, and he demonstrated that during the class. You want to elaborate on your bursting technique there just a little bit, Jeff?
Sure. During the we said, well, if I had time, I'll do it, because we weren't sure. But a couple of folks brought actually instruments that they really wanted sunbursts on, and well, I will do anything to make students happy, quite frankly. So we demonstrated not just one sunburst, but I got the feeling that the owner of that guitar might have wanted a little bit different, more red sunburst. So we did it again. And so we actually did 2 sunbursts in 5 days. So it was quite an experience. I know that everybody got a lot out of that sunburst technique. But watching somebody do something seemingly complicated like that takes all the fear out of it, so you can go home and do it yourself. I mean, at least, kind of that's the way that my mind works. But if I watch somebody do something, it really does alleviate a lot of the learning curve and trepidation, if you will, in learning a new technique.
Absolutely. Let me pull up a few more pictures here, Jeff. That was one of the sunbursts we did on a mandolin. It turned out absolutely gorgeous. Here's somebody spraying a
Yeah.
koa guitar. And there's that Paduk guitar again, which turned out just, I mean, absolutely gorgeous. They had a lot of Indian rosewood and dreadnoughts, OMs. But all of the students did the spraying themselves. We would demonstrate, and then they'd jump in and do it all themselves. So if you're wanting to learn how to do your own spray finishing class, Mark Adams, I believe we're going to be there in July of this next year. And it's actually going to be a 7-day class instead of a
July,
5-day
I
class.
believe it.
Yeah, it's going to 7 days, right, Jeff?
And if I may just add one thing, Robbie.
Yeah.
7 days, and if I may add one thing, you don't have to bring an instrument. A lot of people did. But if you don't bring an instrument, you can practice and do the same exact thing on a couple sample boards if you want, which I think we really had only 2 people do that. Most people brought instruments, but
Right.
it was nice to have everybody get the hands-on feature of this class, which is, the last thing I want to do in a course is just sit up there and talk the whole time. And if you let me do it, I'll do it. Of course, it's hard to Robbie O'Brien, but anyway, no, we really tag teamed it well. We really kind of worked off each other nicely, and it was a good experience.
By the way, Jeff has a lot of stories of things that have happened over the years in his business and in Lutherie and stuff. And so, as we progress through the week, Jeff and I pull these stories out of our hats as we remember him. And man, he was like a stand-up comedian. He had us all rolling. Great stories. Let's go back to just a couple more pictures here. I think I'm almost to the end. This is a couple of students doing the buffing on the StuMac, and I believe that's it. Okay. I think that before we actually just jump into some questions here, I think we ought to give something away. I mean, it is Christmas time, right, Jeff?
Sure.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take you off the screen, Jeff.
Absolutely.
I'm going to go down there to São Paulo, Brazil, where Cesar and Manuela are sitting in front of the fireplace. And let's just, what do you think? How about a sunburst course for today? Is that okay?
That's good. Sunburst is good.
All right, I'm going to pop down to Brazil. Cesar, you've got yourself on mute, so make sure you take yourself off mute. Here we go down to São Paulo, Brazil. Isn't the technology wonderful when it works? We had a little bit of a bandwidth issue today, but hey, Cesar, how you doing again?
Hey, very great.
Okay,
How our sound is it working?
How
nicely?
many people have enrolled for the drawing here?
So for this drawing, in total, we have 29 people.
29 people. Okay, so Jeff has given me the go-ahead. We're going to give away the Sunburst finishing course from Jeff Jewitt. So here we go.
Okay, let's roll it. And number 15.
Number 15. All right, who's number 15?
Let's see who is number 15. Number 15 is over here. Michael Ewell.
Okay, Michael, congratulations.
Ewell. I'm not sure how to pronounce it.
I'm not sure how to pronounce it either, but congratulations, Michael.
So I have your email. We will be in touch.
And actually, there's a comment. There's a comment in the chat box from Michael. And look at that. He says, bring it on. Well, we did. Congratulations, Michael.
Nice. Hey, there you go.
Perfect timing.
That's funny. All right, Cesar and Manuela, we will be back momentarily.
Okay,
Enjoy
fine.
the warmth of the fire there, and we'll see you back here in just a few minutes. Let me bring myself back up, and then we'll bring Jeff up here.
Okay.
All right. Well, Jeff, we have a couple of questions here in the chat box. Let's just bring one up here. You ready for some questions?
Okay.
There we go. All right.
Sure. Bring it on.
Donald Donald Forsyth. Hey, Robbie, finally got a break from work to join in. Still enjoying our guitar. The sound is developing incredibly. Well, that's not a question. That's Donald. I thought that was a question. Donald built a guitar with me here recently. He's all the way down there in Georgia. Glad to hear the guitar sounding well. Let's grab another question here. Question for Jeff. Here it comes. John Cooper took the level sanding and buffing course, wondering what the optimal starting finish thickness should be before starting the series of sanding and buffing steps. Any thoughts on that, Jeff?
Well, it varies a little bit because I do a thinner application of finish coats on the top than I do on the back and the sides, particularly if the back and sides have pores in them which need to be filled. I'll concentrate mostly on the top because that's the critical one. I usually like to keep my finish coat or thickness after application, my total application of finish, to 5 mil or less. Now, a mil is a thousandth of an inch. So 5 mil is pretty thin. But you're going to remove some of that during the level sanding and buffing stages. So if you can get your top down to 3 mil or even less, you're in a really good area for frequency transmission.
Yep.
Now, the sides and back, I really don't worry about. For me, it's an aesthetic thing. I just apply as much finish as I need to get those pores filled and to develop a good gloss. So I may go up to 8, 9, or even 10 mil on the back and sides, depending on the species. But I may get some pushback from the real acoustic engineer types on this, but I really don't worry about finish thickness on the back and side.
Yeah, I think it was VJ out at Shellac Finishes that does the Royal Lac product. He actually did some testing on this, some scientific testing, and I think he figured out that anywhere between about 6 and 8 mils, you're still good tonally. Once you start getting above about 8, 10 mils, then yeah, you start having an issue.
Yes, you are.
Yeah. So yeah, he sent me all that.
Just as an aside. Well, as an aside, my friend Michael Dresner, when he worked at Martin Guitar in the 90s and the 80s, they actually did some very elaborate testing on that. And their conclusion was at Martin that you really don't suffer tone-wise until you get to about 10 mil.
Right.
So that's probably right in the same ballpark as VJ. Now, again, it does depend a little bit on the type of finish. But the other thing I might want to mention is that with my guitars these days, I do apply finish to the insides. A lot of my guitars go down to Florida. They go they go into extremely humid environments from snowbirds, so they may change. And I feel that really helps some cracking issues that might develop. The top, I've only done it once where I've finished the under.
Oh no, we lost Jeff.
Side of the top, and that was a special application. 3 mil or less.
Okay.
No,
Jeff,
didn't.
what finish do you put on the inside of your guitar, and how do you apply it?
I use shellac, and I apply it with a spray gun, a little miniature detail gun.
Okay.
Now, I know a lot of people that just brush it on, or you can also get those aerosol cans from Zinsser. That's what my friend Michael Bashkin does. The only issue with that is that shellac is glossy. It's going to make a glossy interior, which I don't like.
Right.
So I add a product that I developed initially for the art museum world, the furniture conservation issue. It's a flatting agent for shellac. But you can get various flatting agents that will work. Talcum powder you can add to shellac, or you can add something called silica. It's called fume silica. And then there's a product made by Mohawk called Mohawk Lacquer Flatting Paste, which also can be used in shellac. And I like a little bit more of a satin sheen on the inside.
How does the spraying work if you're using the flattening agents? Have you had a problem with the spray gun?
I use the PPS system with the spray gun,
Hmm.
and that allows me to basically hold the gun at just about any angle. I can hold it this way. I can go upside down with it.
Right.
I can really get in the nooks and crannies of the guitar that way, and that just allows me to really finish the inside really well. As I said, you can use a brush too. That's just as good. It's just as easy and just as good.
Okay. Alexander has a question. Says, "Hi Jeff, what is the best high gloss finish besides French polish to lay down on guitars when you don't have a spray booth? And if you had to choose that one or the French polish, what would it be?" So no spray booth. He wants to do a high gloss. What do you recommend?
Well, I have not done it, but I know a lot of people that have. And if you get the chance, there's an archtop guitar maker by the name of Ken Parker. I'm
Hmm.
sure that Robbie knows who he is.
Yep.
I believe he's out there in Colorado. But he's got a YouTube channel called Ken Parker Archtoppery.
Yes.
And what he does is he does an epoxy pore fill technique like what Robbie does and Robbie shows, and we will actually be using in our class. And then he uses a product called True Oil, which is a like a varnish type of product, and he just wipes that on with a rag. And I mean, this guy is a legend among archtop guitar makers. I've not seen the finish or anything. I know a lot of people that have done it, and it's just perfectly fine. That's
Yeah.
what I would recommend.
Okay.
If I had to choose that or French polish, you know, really, I love French polish. I love the kind of Zen-like rhythm you get into it. If you've got kind of a rainy day or you just kind of want to zone out in the shop and listen to some music and French polish, it's always fun. But it's not. It just isn't durable for I think a steel string guitar. It's fine on classicals and maybe other guitars, but for steel string, if you're using a plectrum, a pick, finger picks, anything like that, it just doesn't hold up very well. Uh, Sweat is really an issue with shellac, so I would pick probably the True Oil finish.
Okay. You.
I will mention this: there is several brush-on water-based finishes that you can use.
Mhm.
There's one made by General Finishes called Enduro Bar, which I've used, although it's spray only, would be labeled as color tone, work very well too.
Right. Okay. You mentioned True Oil just a minute ago, and somebody has a question about True Oil here. It says, Jeff, what are your thoughts, pro and con, on True Oil as an instrument finish?
Well, what you need to know, and it's rather difficult to get the exact, kind of formulation that True Oil is because they really hide behind some trade secrets and things like that. But True Oil is basically the same as your old time alkyd varnishes.
Right.
Um, Now, what else is in it? I really don't know, but it doesn't matter. But as far as the pros and cons, uh, the pros are that it's very easy to apply. You don't need a lot of coats. You can control the sheen somewhat by how many coats you apply. You can degloss it if you want very easily with steel wool. But as far as cons go, it does take a long time to dry.
Right. Right.
It's affected by temperature, meaning that if you have cold and conditions, it's better to have that applied and dried in heat. Uh, but that's about it. I think it's perfectly suitable. Varnishes have been used on guitars since the mid '80s.
Right.
Martin Guitar used varnishes up until the 1920s when they switched over to lacquer.
Hmm.
They also did use shellac. They used both finishes. Varnish was used on the higher end models, and shellac was used more on the production bread and butter models.
Right. I have a video on YouTube, Luthier Tips du Jour video about how to do true oil on the neck of an instrument. So if you're interested, you guys can go out there and find that. Also, I think I show in there using true oil on a complete guitar if you want to use it. So it is possible. Question for
I'm going
Jeff.
to add just one thing,
Sure, go ahead.
if I might just add one thing. I'm on my next guitar. I'm going to try a product on the neck that's made by Osmos called Polyox Finish,
Yes.
which is a sort of oil finish that's fortified with some urethane, if you will. And it's a wipe-on type of finish, and I can buy it in satin. And some people have really been raving about it.
Yeah.
Customers really like it that have demoed it. So I'm going to try that.
Okay. Next question is about urethane. Jeff, any experience with the PPG shop line urethane? Now, I know that all lacquers are not created equal. What about the cat urethanes? Are they created equal?
Yes and no. Not the answer you probably wanted to hear. Basically, the catalyzed urethane finish that I use is not formulated for cars. It's formulated for wood furniture.
Right.
That said, it is the same chemistry in both car and wood finish industries. And 20 years ago, I would tell you to not use a catalyzed urethane for cars on woods. But now that cars have a lot of plastic components on them, they do need the flexibility of a wood type of finish. So more than likely, you can use them interchangeably. The main difference in catalyzed urethane finishes is going to be in the hardener or the isocyanate component. And there's some that yellow a lot over time. There's some that don't yellow. The thing about the car finishes, they don't yellow at all.
Right.
So if you have, say, like a maple binding, or maybe like a ABS white binding, you want to keep things really, really white and not yellow, you could probably try the PPG. PPG is good stuff.
Yeah.
There's no question about it. And the nice thing about it, it's very easily available in any major city because most major cities have a PPG store.
Right.
You might, run into some raised eyebrows or whatever, but there's, those products are used on plenty of guitars. By the way, I believe PRS uses PPG.
Okay. All right.
PRS guitars.
So speaking of catalyzed urethane, I think we ought to give away a catalyzed urethane course from Jeff Jewitt. What do you think?
I think so. There we go.
So we're going to go down to Brazil again. Technology is great, man. We can pop all over the world here. I'm going to go down to Brazil. We're going to bring in Cesar Manuela. Let me just bring him out of the green room here. And here we go. There's Cesar Manuela again. Cesar, we're going to give away now one of Jeff Jewitt's catalyzed urethane courses. So go ahead and do it when you're ready there, Manuela.
Perfect. Yeah, so for this round, we have 34 participants.
Okay. Here's our random number generator.
Number 13.
Lucky
So
number
let's
13.
switch to the spreadsheet. 13, very close to the previous participant. John Cooper.
John Cooper, congratulations. You have won Jeff
That's the
Jewitt's
winner.
catalyzed urethane course, which is an excellent course, by the way. I've been working with catalyzed urethane ever since the beginning of my Lutherie career. And catalyzed urethane is great. And Jeff does a good job of teaching that. And if you want to supplement that, come see us in July next year at the Mark Adams School of Woodworking, and you'll be able to actually see it done in person. Thank you very much, Cesar and Manuela, and we'll be back online here in a few minutes to give away another course.
Thank you.
All right, let's bring Jeff back up in here. Here comes Jeff. Jeff, let's see. I got another question for you here. This one's about water-based.
We
When
got lots of
using
questions over there.
when you use
Yeah.
water-based clear coats, you mentioned to me that you prefer Target Coatings EM6000. What do you like about the Target Coatings over the Bright Tone? Have you worked with both of them?
I've worked with both of them. I'm going to make this very, very plain and simple because Target Coatings, the owner of it and the chief formulator there, Jeff Weiss, has actually finished a number of guitars. He knows his stuff. For those of you that have been in the guitar finishing realm for any period of time, there's reps and technical people. They don't know anything about guitars. Everything is geared towards wood furniture or something like that. And everybody that builds guitars knows that you're not building a piece of furniture. It's a guitar. It needs to resonate. It needs to transmit frequency. There's lots of other things. Jeff Weiss knows his stuff. Now, Bright Tone is relabeled. Bright Tone is made by a company in Tennessee called Crystalac, and it's also the same product as Color Tone, the product. StewMac has a little bit better, probably technical service, but the big problem with StewMac these days, and it's not a slam, because my product does go there, but you basically can't call up anybody and get an immediate answer. You
Right.
kind of have to go through submitting an answer and things like that. So
Right.
as we all know, as finishers, you want an answer right away.
Right.
Crystalac, the company, they've been around for a long time, but they just don't understand guitar finishing. They really don't. They don't. I'm not going to go into much more than that. I talked to the people, but they just don't get it, for lack of a better term. As an aside, I'm just going to share this story with you because I'm preparing an article on a brief timeline or history of American finishing used on guitars. And I did have the chance to speak for about an hour with Bob Taylor.
Uh-huh.
And Bob is just, he's one of those people in this industry that it's just ceases to amaze me. But anyways, he told me they were forced into going into what are called UV cured finishes because in the early 1990s they got a letter from that part of the state of California that says basically you can't use anything solvent based anymore. So it was either move out of California or find something different. So he decided that he would get into UV cured finishes. And he told me his biggest obstacle was the fact that every technical representative that he talked to said when he would describe the finish that he wants, he would say, well, you're talking about then a piano finish. And Bob would just like laugh and say, no, a piano finish is like 20, 40 mils thick.
Right.
We need to be like under 3 mil. And they would go, that's impossible to do. So that was Bob's real technical hurdle. He wound up having to build his own curing equipment. He had the peeler or pore filler because the stuff that the industry was supplying at the time just was all sorts of problems. He finally figured it out, but that's kind of what I'm leaning to is that if you do call up a lot of the representatives. Now, as I said, what I like about Target Coatings is he has a formulation that he claims is 100% burn-in, and it is, meaning that, if you miss a spot and find it a week or two later, you can spray over it after some sanding, and it should burn in without any, witness lines when you rub it out.
Just like lacquer.
I think Bright Tone should do the same thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's more like lacquer. But overall, the technical help with Target is absolutely top of the heap of everybody else.
Right. Fantastic. All
I
right.
hope that answers it.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. That was a great question. If the finish didn't go well, how do you remove the finish and try again? Well, Jeff, if you don't mind, I'll answer this one. I've had to strip more guitars than I care to admit to, and I'm sure Jeff has had his share of having to strip guitars as well. So for those of you that want to know how to remove a finish, that's one of the courses I'm going to be launching in the beginning of next year, 2023, either January or February. Cesar can let us know about that, of how to refinish an instrument. And I've got several video lessons, and the majority of it is how to remove the finish and how to do the surface prep. And then that kind of leaves it open for your finish of choice to put over the top. But the removing the finish and the surface prep is the same for no matter what kind of product is going to go over the top. In the video course, I actually show putting shellac on. One of them I paint on with a foam brush. The other one I do the French polish application technique. But you could use any application method and any product. The main focus of the course is how to get that finish, the old finish, off if you need to refinish an instrument. So that's coming up January or February of 2023, I think. Jeff, you've had to refinish an instrument before, haven't you?
Yeah, and what I always tell people to remember is, and this is particularly if it's a sunburst, is that, if you have to remove just part of the finish, say you just have to remove the finish on the top, or maybe it's just the back that you have to do, always, always, always use a scraper followed with some sanding. Do not use stripper.
Right.
Never put stripper on a guitar. I would never recommend that you do it. You risk the damage. Well, you don't risk the damage. You will damage any plastic components that might be in the guitar.
Yep.
But you also risk it does weaken. It has an effect on the glues that you use. So that can be an issue. Yep. What I do, say you need to refinish the top. Okay, it's a sunburst, and the back and sides are more or less finished or sealed or whatever. All you have to do is I just take some sandpaper, some 220, and I just round over the edges to remove, just kind of like that edge that you might have. And then I'll then use a scraper and then scrape the finish off. I find that if you put it under an infrared lamp for a little bit, I have one right at my bench, that helps to kind of soften it a little bit. And then your finish preparation after that or surface is just the same. Now, I usually go back to maybe 180 or 150 and then back up to 220. And then I'm going to follow or segue this into a question that's on the chat about how fine a grit you sand a guitar finish to. And basically, I never go above 220. I just don't. There's no reason to. Right. And if you go any higher, you run the risk with certain finishes not being able to penetrate. Because remember, with the finer grit sandpapers on wood, you actually start to buff, if you want to call it that, or burnish the surface of the wood a little bit with those fine sandpapers. And put on a buffer. And I mean, you can buff a pretty good gloss on it without, using any finish. So, if you burnish the surface of wood, finishes have a problem penetrating the wood cells, and it's an adhesion issue. And that's the answer to the person that asked me the question about Osmo finish. If you're using that, that's a penetrating oil type of finish, so you don't want to sand past 220.
Right. Or
even 180. I mean, 180 is fine as long as your pattern is with the grain, if you will, with 180.
Right. I have a little story about that. About 25 years ago, I didn't know near as much as I know now, and I was refinishing an instrument. I did not completely remove the previous finish. I was going over it, and I sanded too high on that previous finish. I sprayed over the top. I don't even remember what it was, but some type of high gloss type finish. And when I sprayed it, I hung it up. I came back the next day, and there was about 6 to 8 inches of plastic down on the lower bout of the guitar. It just slipped right off, and had to cut all that stuff off of there and start over. So yeah.
Oh my.
It was a mess.
Oh my.
It was a mess. Okay, back to a comment here. This is from Jim, and this is an excellent comment actually. For those of you just joining us, Cesar, my web developer down in Brazil, and Manuela are getting married next month, January. Robbie, I would like to suggest that you set up on your website a place where we can send a cash wedding gift to Manuela and Cesar. Congratulations, Cesar and Manuela. I think that's a great idea. Cesar, what do you think? Can we do that? I think we can do that.
I
I'll
think we
work
can
on
do
that.
that.
Jim,
Yeah, we can.
that's a wonderful
Thank you, Jim.
suggestion.
Thank
Thank
you,
you very
Jim.
much, and we'll see if we can put that together here in the next little bit. Thank you so much, Jim, for the suggestion. Okay, Bruce Jones. We just answered that question. Let's go on down here to Jack Miller. Jack, do you let's see, do you mix finishes, say urethane back and sides and French polish top? Oh, that's an excellent question. How about you, Jeff? You ever done that?
Oh yeah, I'll do that. Not a lot, but uh, you know, there's a lot of good things about French polishing a top. In that you can really keep the finish super, super, super thin, probably 2 mil or less. Um, so yeah, I mean, you can certainly do that. There's no problem with it. Uh, the only thing is that you kind of have to keep a distinct boundary line between finishes because there's not going to be any burn-in that we call it between the shellac and the urethane. So you have to be a little bit careful about a transition, maybe around the binding or something like that. But oh yeah, sure, I can do it. In fact, for many years, I did a urethane back and sides and a lacquer, nitrocellulose lacquer top, because
Right.
that's what people wanted. Now again, I pretty much don't use lacquer really anymore. It's not. I really like the finish, but for me, it's just a bottleneck in the time that it needs to really cure to buff correctly.
Right, right. That's fairly common in Brazil, actually, to put French polish or shellac on the top and then catalyzed urethane back and sides, and it actually works quite well. It adds a little bit more protection because the
Okay.
environment there,
All right.
it's hot and humid all the time, so people
Yeah.
do it all the time in Brazil. Here's a question from Bill. Just
Yeah.
finished my first guitar using your great online course. I use True Oil and I'm pleased. Can the True Oil handle my buffer? Oh, that's a great question. Do you ever buffed True Oil, Jeff?
I have not, but I have buffed varnishes in the past, and some buff okay. They buff as well as lacquer. Some kind of don't. I hate to say this, but you're probably just going to have to try it and see. Uh, I would just follow the buffing schedule or the leveling, the sanding, and buffing schedule that you use for other finishes. In other words, you want to get the finish level. The main issue with True Oil is that there's not going to be any burn in between coats. So you're going to have to be very careful that you don't over sand too much when you do the leveling and the sanding process. So I think what I would probably do is I would probably just very lightly maybe sand it with 1500 or 2000 and then try a buffer after that.
Yeah, those True Oil coats go on so that if you're trying to like wet sand like a traditional urethane or lacquer, you're probably going to go through it. So be extremely careful if you're trying to get a high gloss out of a True Oil. Once again, if you want to participate in today's drawing, so there's the upcoming course. Yeah, that will be out in January, I think. I think Jeff or Cesar said. I got something in my ear here. I think it's Cesar and Manuela down there in Brazil. There we go. For some reason, they got kicked out. All right, John. Do additional coats of True Oil burn into the previous coat like lacquer or shellac? Jeff, you want to answer that one?
I got bumped out. Can you hear me? Okay,
Yep,
yeah, I
yep,
think you can.
yep. Thanks.
No, they do not. Now, I will answer that, though there is an exception. Um, with oil-based varnishes and some finishes that don't physically burn in well, if you apply them within a certain time frame of each other, so if you could maybe apply like 3 or 4 or 5 coats of true oil, maybe within maybe a 35 or 45 minute in between window time, you may get some burn-in, but you're going to have to practice because that first coat has to resist the wiping or the friction that might be coming on.
Right. Okay. Let's just try and grab a couple more questions here. We're having some bandwidth issues today because everybody's online buying Christmas presents, so it's affected the whole internet system here worldwide. But let's try and get just a couple more
That's right.
questions, and then we'll give something away. Here comes one from Gavin. I'm about to try
Okay.
my first PRS style finish on figured electric top. Test pieces went well with trans tint, LMI powder. Any recommendations on the process? Thank you both for your expertise. Jeff, any insight on the PRS type finish? Sounds like he's ready to start spraying.
Well, that's what it sounds like to me. You didn't say what kind of finish that you're using, but I'm glad that you did some test pieces. Anytime that I've tested on an actual prop, it sometimes doesn't go well. So anyways,
Amen to that. I've had that happen to me.
Well, with the trans tint LMI powder, I'm assuming you're doing. I assume you're possibly talking about maybe a colored metallic finish or something like that. No, I mean you're fine. Just I would follow the sequence for the urethane finish class or the urethane finish course. Yeah, I just go for it.
Here comes a question from Bo Hannum out there in Grand Junction, Colorado. How you doing, Bo? Thanks for tuning in. Can you spray urethane
Hey, Bo.
over a wash coat of shellac and or thin nitro wash coat? What do you think, Jeff?
Yes.
Yeah. I have had an issue with catalyzed
Absolutely.
urethane.
No problem.
I have one time I had an issue with catalyzed urethane over shellac. The chemical, the catalyst, the acid in the catalyzed urethane ate the shellac, and I put my fingernail on it, and it just chipped off. I've only had that happen one time, and I've never had it happen again. So, it's probably operator error. How about you, Jeff?
Well, the key to that question is thin. A thin coat of shellac is mostly in the wood. A thin coat of nitro is mostly in the wood. I spray in my sunburst course. I spray I spray my color coats with thinned nitrocellulose lacquer and trans tint. And then I wait about an hour, and then I start spraying urethane over that. I've never had a problem in the 20 years that I've done that.
Right.
So with nitro, you should be fine. Shellac, I think I haven't done it, but I'm going to start doing it on tops.
Okay. Let us know your experience. All right, we got one more question here. This is from Pomerose Guitars. Have you tried Crystalac Bright Tone with a spray gun? Any thoughts? Thanks for sharing.
Yes, I have. I thought it sprayed fairly well. It didn't do anything for me in terms of the look of it, and that's a problem with all water-based finishes. But what I did try that looked a lot better was particularly on mahogany and rosewood and other dark woods. I used an epoxy, if you want to call it, pore fill / sealer, and then I sprayed both Bright Tone, and then I sprayed Endurovar, which are both water-based finishes, over that, and they look pretty good. About the best of anything.
See if he's got a prop here for us.
Okay, I'm back. Well, I don't think it's going to look that good, but
Yeah, the
anyways,
bandwidth is just not
this
helping us
is
today.
no, okay. Anyways, what I just showed you was some sinter mahogany
Hmm.
that I typically do a urethane finish on it. And when I put that sample up next to a guitar done with solvent base, I don't think anybody would ever tell the difference.
Okay.
So that's the real key to it, because water-based finishes do not, as we call it, they don't wet out the cellular structure of wood and give you that deepening effect that you like to see, which gives you an illusion of depth and luster and pops out grain and figuring, that type of thing.
Right.
Just putting a water-based finish on wood just really doesn't look that good.
All right, Jeff, we're coming up on the hour here. I'd like to try and keep these
So I
in
think
the
that's about
neighborhood
it.
of about an hour. I do want to give away one more course. I mean, heck, because it is Christmas
Yeah,
time. Let's give something else away. I'm thinking the leveling, the
let's do
wet
that.
sanding, and buffing course by Jeff Jewitt. I learned a lot
Yeah,
just from helping Jeff edit that video. I mean, fantastic stuff.
yeah, let's do that.
All right, let's pop down to Brazil. Here we are down here
Okay.
with Cesar and Manuela again. And in front of the cozy fireplace there, behind them, of course, that's a green screen because it's summertime down there in Brazil right now. So, Cesar, we're going to give away one of Jeff's
Yeah,
leveling,
it's summertime.
wet sanding, and buffing
Actually, yeah.
courses. So, let's do that.
Yeah, so for this round, 39 participants.
39. They went up. Great.
And number 29.
Number 20.
Here. I just have Jim. It's the full name or not,
Jim.
but that's Jim.
Congratulations, Jim. You are the lucky winner of Jeff Jewitt's leveling, wet sanding, and buffing course. And once again, if you're just tuning in, Cesar and Manuela are getting married in January. Congratulations. Let's give them a big round of applause again. There you go. And if you would like to help contribute,
Hey,
if you'd like to help contribute to the wedding donations there's a quick PayPal link. Thank you so much, Cesar and Manuela. And I'll go ahead and remove you guys from the screen. Get back to me. Get back to Jeff. Jeff, any final words
Thank
of
you.
wisdom before we sign off?
okay. There are two final words of wisdom that are cardinal rules, or Jewitt's cardinal rules of finishing, number 1 and 2.
Let's hear it.
Cardinal rule number 1: always, always put alcohol in the finish and never put it in the finisher.
There you go. I like it.
Number 2, number 2, keep your wits and your tools sharp.
I like it. Great information. Thank you, Jeff, for tuning in here and taking some time out of your day. Thank you for Cesar and Manuela down there in Brazil. And thank you, all of you, for tuning in. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy New Year, all that kind of stuff. Enjoy the holiday season. And I will start in January with another live stream. And okay, over and out, folks. Contribute to Cesar and Manuela's wedding fund there. I'm sure they'll greatly appreciate it. Bye-bye.